Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome to Holy BatCast, brought to you by real fans for real movies. You can still visit our website at holybatcast.com, or you can find us all over the socials as Holy BatCast. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and YouTube. If you're a big fan of the show and you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon. You don't have to, no pressure, but if you'd like to, the option is there. And I got to give a shout out and a thank you to our patrons. You guys are amazing. It means so much that you would support us in that way, and it makes the show that much easier to keep rolling. So I hope you all know it's appreciated. And got to give a shout out to a couple new patrons. First of all, Mr. Daniel Martin. Hi, Daniel. Thanks for joining. Thanks for your support. You're awesome. Thanks for being our Bat family. And also, Mr. Charles Messing. Charles, big shout out to you as well. We definitely appreciate you listening to the show and then feeling the need to go ahead and support us as well. It really does mean the world. So Daniel and Charles, you guys are awesome. This one goes out to you. I hope that wherever you are, you're feeling loved and you're feeling special, because you're both of those things. And it really does mean a lot. So thanks to Daniel and Charles. And thank you again to all our patrons. You guys rock. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. And finally, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. Same as always, you can find me on all the socials. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. So that's Twitter, X, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads. Yeah, more or less. So on this episode, we are going to be talking about the first episode of the new documentary that's out, thanks to Vice. I guess it's Vice is the channel name. I'm not all that familiar with Vice, I'll be honest with you. But they're doing a documentary series on Batman, and I thought it was worth chatting about. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to review the next episode of The Batman. And then finally, as always, check in with you folks and see what you've left me in the Wayne Manor mailbox. It'll be tons of fun. And joining me in the cockpit right there, the Robin to my Batman. It's nice to have him back. It's Brendan Lowe. Hey, Brendan.
Howdy, howdy. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter! That's
and
right.
I'm
Happy
not
Easter
going to make a joke about being in a cockpit with you. I'm better than that.
You know, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I regretted it. I was like, "Oh no, what's going to happen?" But in observance of this most holy of days, I appreciate you not being a perverted.
I'm not
once,
that person.
Once in your life.
I'm not that person.
Well, that's great. I really appreciate it, and more than I appreciate it, Jesus appreciates it.
That's exactly right.
well,
all I can say is it's appropriate that, it's today that we got the toy announcement that we did earlier, but I'm sure we'll touch on that.
Let's touch on that before we. So not only are we going to talk about the documentary, but I want to talk a little bit about toys, and we're also recording this on a very special day in addition to Easter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was more applying the return of Christ, but.
Oh, okay. Same difference, right?
Yes.
Great. Well, I'm glad to have you, Brendan. Thanks for taking time out of your Easter.
That's okay.
Well, I mean, you do need to spend a little time with your mistress on the holidays. It's just, it's a rule.
I've done the family thing this morning. Henry's found his eggs. We had pancakes. We watched Yogi the Easter Bunny. He's been high on chocolate and sugar, and now he's having his day sleep. So I am all yours, my friend.
All right. Okay.
I hear there's some couple swapping happening tonight.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the rare occasion where we've not invited a third. We have invited another married couple to join us, which is a first. So it's historic in all the ways today.
It's just new life, new beginnings, new life.
We're the trendsetters, guys. We're the trendsetters.
So you're hearing some other voices in the background, and we're getting a twofer. We're getting a married couple who have been good friends of not just of this show, but of Disorder and Real Fans, and just two delightful people. And they wanted to talk some Batman, and I was like, well, great. If you want to watch a 45-minute documentary on YouTube, come on, we'll chat. So first of all, it's Kaylee Mercado. Hey, Kaylee.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure. Thanks for making the time on your Easter Eve.
Of course. Happy to.
Yeah, well, welcome. And then also your other half, Mr. Jon Mercado. Hey, John.
Hey.
How you been?
I am doing well,
Good.
guys. I actually worked a full day at work, and I was telling them all about that I was going to be coming on, and they were like, "Oh, have fun. Let us know how it went."
Okay, well, great. Well, shout out to John's workmates. Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
I told Catherine that you guys were joining us, and Catherine's like, "Oh, the people with the cute hats." I'm like, yes, them, the Mercados. Because
yes, we still have that picture too. Yeah.
Because when we met Kaylee and Jon in the fall, they were both wearing cool fedoras, and we're like, "Oh, it's the hat couple. That's them." Well, it is Kaylee and Jon's first time on Holy BatCast, so we got to go through tradition. We got to talk about their fandom and their favorite Batman movies. So, Kaylee, tell us first. You go first.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I was in the beginning a casual Batman fan. I'm gonna do a hot take. I think my first introduction was Batman Forever.
Atta girl.
You know what?
Yes.
You're on the right episode with the right people.
And I mean, I'm just saying, what young preteen girl did not want to be Nicole Kidman draped in a sheet walking across the room to make out with Batman? Just saying.
I know Brendan did.
What preteen boy didn't want Nicole Kidman wrapped in a bed sheet?
Correct. But I actually did not become. I mean, I can't even call myself a diehard Batman fan, but I'll say a diehard Batman fan by association until I met this guy sitting next to me. And just ever since, I had just, fallen for the character, the franchise, and, and then once we discovered you guys, that was it for us.
Awesome.
So we were in.
I mean, you marry a Batman fan, and that's how it goes. It's how it has to go if it's going to work.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm trying to talk him into his first tattoo, and it is, what is it going to be?
It would be the Batman 89 yellow oval.
That's a perfect tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
only the coolest Batman fans have that tattoo. So I highly recommend. So Kaylee, would that mean Batman Forever is your favorite Batman movie?
Well, movie, yes. My favorite Batman, though, I think I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to do a hot take. I'm gonna have to go. My favorite Batman is gonna be Batfleck.
Okay, I like
That's
that.
not a hot
Splitting it
take.
up. Yeah, I think that's perfectly respectable. But I appreciate that if Batman Forever was your entry point, you have a lot of nostalgia for it, and then respect the Batfleck. I like it.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Well, Jon, you got Kaylee to commit to full Bat fandom, and we love that, and we respect it, and we thank you for it. But you, how long have you been a Batman fan, and what's your favorite Batman movie?
I have been a Batman fan since I was, I would say, 2.5 years old, because that was around the time that Batman 89 came out. The reason why I have such a memory at such a young age is because I went to go see it with my grandma, Aida, from my mom's side, and she basically was like your grandma Ruth that took you to see movies and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when she took me to see Batman 89, my uncle worked at a movie theater in New York City at the time. So we used to go see the movies whenever they were the big movies for free. So I remember seeing Batman 89 because I screamed crying when I first saw Joker on the screen because I was petrified of clowns. And I still am to this day. But she took me out of the movie theater and she wiped my tears and she told me, "Don't worry, Batman's gonna get him and everything." We went to the bathroom, came back, we sat in the back row, finished the entire film, and I was just in awe of Batman. And since then, I have been obsessed with Batman. The animated series was my jam. Every day after school, seeing a new episode on TV in New York was how my fandom just like took off. And Batmania for me was Batman Forever. I'm gonna
Oh, all
say,
right.
I will say that. I'm even wearing my Release the Schumacher cut shirt at the moment.
Oh, wow. I love it.
But yeah, that was my Batmania because I have such a fond memory of going to see it again with my same grandmother because she herself loved the film. We saw it multiple times in the movie theater because she was also a big Jim Carrey fan. When I got the VHS tape and I went over to her house, I brought a few VHS tapes and she was like, "Oh, let's put on Batman Forever," because she loved that movie because of Jim Carrey. So,
Oh, all right.
go figure. I have fond memories of it. But
I'm with all the Batman Forever love, I feel like maybe I just need to leave you three to it. And I can just like sit in the corner. I'm good.
But I will say though, my favorite film is going to be The Dark Knight.
All right.
For the reasons that that was a movie I have watched multiple times. Kaylee and I love that film. We just have such fond memories of it individually. I remember going to see it opening night. My best friend and I, we dressed up as characters in the films. I was Joker. He was Bruce Wayne. So, and also too, I just can't get over Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. I still remember where I was at Blockbuster waiting in line when I heard about his passing, and that just shocked me. I'm even just getting just emotional just thinking about it because he was such a delightful person, and the fact that he transformed into that character the way he did. My gosh.
Yeah.
And what a cast that was in that film, and that music. I've grown to appreciate scores because of you, Andy. Just
Oh,
saying.
good. I love that. Oh, so I got a question. You were talking about your grandma taking you to see Batman 89 when you were 2.5.
Yeah.
That's very young. Do you remember it?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it was traumatic? Like, that's the only way we remember things when we're that young is if it was traumatic. So I guess the Joker did his job and burned it into your memory. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell people that. They were like, "You were awfully young to remember that." I was like, "Well, I have a fear of clowns." So
and he still does.
That would basically explain it.
That's where it all came from.
I can still watch though, anything with Joker. I love the Joker. I think I've gotten over the part that I'm like, well, he's a man that unfortunately, got dropped into these chemicals that turned him into this crazed lunatic. So
all right. Well, my very first memory, I knew I was young because my memory is I was getting my diaper changed. So I was probably right around 2.5. But the reason I remember it is because my uncle came in while I was getting my diaper changed with this scary Halloween mask and scared the shit out of me.
Oh my God.
So it was like same thing where it's like, that's my earliest memory because it was horrifying. And like those are the ones that actually can burn in before you're like 4.
Oh, man.
Yep.
All right, but Dark Knight, great choice for a favorite. Love it.
I do want to interject just because I thought of another film that is my favorite. Again, it might be a hot take, but I'm gonna say BVS.
Okay. All right. Great.
BVS because of the introduction of Wonder Woman.
Good.
Yeah, and I mean, Andy, you and I have spoken privately about this, but she has taken on a whole nother caliber for me.
For sure. That's excellent. We just celebrated 8 years of BVS last week.
Yes.
Which is 8 years is just
that's crazy.
mind blowing,
Terrifying.
but whatever. Yeah, I don't
Terrifying.
like that.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
Don't like that at all. Anyway, well, very cool. Thank you guys for sharing and thank you for being here. I'm glad to have you. Before we get to all the other fun stuff, I gotta, of course, give a little shout out to our friends over at Manscaped. So this episode is brought to you by Manscaped. And did you guys know we are starting in April? This is going to be, you're going to be listening to this on April 1st or somewhere around there. And April is National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. So this is when Manscaped, it's not as funny. It's serious stuff. And one man every hour, every day is diagnosed with testicular cancer. It's the most common form of cancer among men ages 15 to 35. And because April is National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, our friends over at Manscaped have partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to help spread awareness for men's health and early cancer detection. So visit manscaped.com/TCS to learn how to check yourself for signs of cancer. And as always, you can use the promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. So this is one of those things, it's no fun to talk about and none of us like it, but it is a reality and it's better to know so that way you can address it. So take the time, go over to manscaped.com/TCS, learn about a self-check and just do a little self-check. Better to be safe, better to be informed. And it's good that Manscaped has partnered to get that message out there because knowledge is power and we're all better off. So in addition to providing the right tools for comfortable and easy grooming, Manscaped is also committed to raising awareness and giving support to fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer. So they're donating $50,000 to the Testicular Cancer Society. So help save lives and balls by going to manscaped.com/TCS and sharing their funny, educational, check yourself video. While you're at it, grab 20% off and free shipping by using that promo code BATSCAPED because, like a famous American philosopher once said, take care of your mentals, your balls, and your chickens. That's what they wrote. I don't know. I don't know what that at least they end on a fun note. I don't know what that is. But anyway, so happy April. Check yourself. Do a little shopping at Manscaped. And again, anything that you choose to buy, use that promo code BATSCAPED to get that discount. So moving forward, I said I realized that we are recording on quite a significant day because we are recording on Batman's birthday.
Yay.
Yeah, 85 years ago today, Batman premiered in Detective Comics, even though the cover says May. It was released on March 30th. So yeah, we're recording on March 30th. You guys will get it late on the 31st or early on the 1st. And so what great way to celebrate Batman and 85 years of Batman by talking about Batman and celebrating it. So I thought that was very cool. And it was like the Bat Gods heard that there was going to be a Batman Forever Love Fest on this episode because we also got another little gift. And Kaylee and Jon, I don't know if you guys saw this or not. Have you seen what's happening around Batman Forever that would have Brendan all excited?
No.
Brendan, you can tell him because you're living for it.
Well, we've talked about it for ages on this show because there's been Batman and Robin and other things, but they announced that finally next year we're getting a McFarlane Batman Forever run.
Oh boy.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, so you know how long I've been wanting this, but don't get me wrong, I'm very excited. I have a few little nits to pick, but
so do I. Even though I'm excited as well, but same. I'm also like, guys, come on.
Guys, I just want to let you know I have to just basically pick his jaw up off the floor right now.
Oh. Well, earlier this year, we got the Batman and Robin figures, and we talked about it on the show, and I posted pictures of the set, and I know Brendan grabbed a couple of them too, and you only got a couple, right? You didn't get them all?
I've got Batman and Robin thus far.
Okay. But we were like, I love that they're doing this. It's so random, but it's fun, and we're like, hopefully they sell, and then they'll work their way backwards through the original 4 films, and so hopefully we'll get Batman Forever, and they heard us. And today they made the announcement. I think it was WonderCon was going on this weekend. So they announced it at WonderCon along with the like the prototype. I don't know if they were photos or renderings. It was hard to tell from the photos, but of Batman, Robin, Two-Face, Riddler, and then the Build-A-Figure, which I was like, you need the Build-A-Figure. I thought maybe the Build-A-Figure could be Batman in another suit. maybe the Build-A-Figure could be Riddler in one of his many fabulous looks from the film.
Even Chase.
Or Chase Meridian, or
Yes.
Sugar and Spice. There are options. They chose to make the Build-A-Figure the Nightmare Bat that's in the movie for a couple seconds.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much edited out.
Yeah, like they use just a couple shots of it, right?
Yeah,
and it's more of like during like the dream sequence type stuff. And I was like, of all the things you could do for the Build-A-Figure, the bat. All right, that's like BVS. Remember in the BVS line, they did the Nightmare Bat from that one quick moment where Bruce is in the crypt.
Yes.
And they did a figure of that thing. This is kind of the same, where I was like, really? Like, there are actual characters that you're not releasing figures of. But anyway, I Can't Look a Gift Horse in the Mouth. I don't even like that movie very much, but I'm excited, and I think they look awesome.
That Robin is hot. Like that, and that's the one I've been looking forward to the most, because out of all the lines and like the pop vinyls and stuff like that, they never do Chris O'Donnell Robin.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I mean that was my main reason for getting. Well, the first purchase I made from the Batman and Robin run was Robin, because it's like I need a Chris O'Donnell figure for my Batman, for my Schumacher shelf, like a good one. And then I just sort of was like, well, if I'm going to get Robin, I need to get Batman. But yeah, but that in that costume and everything, oh man, it looks so good.
Yeah.
It does.
Can I mention my other nitpick?
I was just making sure that, you guys found the pictures?
Yes.
All right. I posted it on the Holy BatCast Twitter X, but now every Batman or DC site has shared photos, so they should be pretty easy to find. But I mean, the designs are spot on. They look great.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I agree with you. I think of them all, I am most excited about Robin, because Robin, and because you're right, I like that Batman Forever suit, and he has gotten shortchanged in all of this retro merch, and it's about darn time.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. Agreed.
But anyway, go on with your other nitpick, because we share this one, Brendan.
Why can't they do the Panther suit?
I know.
Look,
I know.
I don't hate the Sonar suit, but the Panther suit is arguably, and I think when we did the episode of ranking the Bat suits, God, however many years ago that was, even with you, like the Panther suit was right up there. It's arguably the best traditional Batman costume from those 4 original films, easily. And yeah, they're just sticking with the Sonar suit, which is a bit, I know they want people to double dip, but if people bought the McFarlane set with all the cinematic Batmans in it, or Batmen, if you will, they've already got the Sonar suit. So it just seems strange to me that they're not going to do the Panther suit, because it's a hell of a good looking Batman suit.
Dude, I am right there with you. The Panther suit is a great bat suit. I think for me, it's probably like number 2. I think I still like 89's a tad better, but I think the Panther suit's probably my number 2, especially from the quadrilogy or whatever. And I don't hate the Sonar suit, but I don't really like it either. I can kind of take it or leave it. But yeah, it's such a bummer. And that's why I was like, well, if you want to release the Sonar suit, make the Build-A-Figure the Panther suit. Like that would be cool, right? But I think it's so odd. And we were talking about it with Joe and Eric from a show I can't remember the name.
Not important.
It doesn't matter. But I was talking to that, or we were talking to them, and I was like, well, at least like they did the multiverse one, but that was like 5 years ago, and I don't know if it will stand next to these new ones and look like it's all part of the same line. My hunch is it won't.
Because I've got my multiverse figure on the same shelf with the Clooney and O'Donnell from Batman and Robin, and it doesn't. It pales. Look, it's a great figure. Don't get me wrong, but it pales in comparison to the detail of the McFarlane ones, and it's also not the same height.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I figured, and that's why I was like, well, yeah, I want them all to match, right? So I don't know. They could do a wave 2 with Panther suit, Chase, Sugar and Spice. I would buy that. And then Build-A-Figure could be like Twinkle Lights Riddler. Twinkly Riddler at the end. Yep.
Yeah.
See? We done the work for you, McFarlane.
Yeah.
Because I would buy them all, and I will still be buying these all. So as much as we're going to nitpick, we're still going to buy it, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
So John, is this like a day one pre-order, or is this like put it on a list for Santa, aka Kaylee?
I think this will be put on a Santa list, aka honey.
Yes. yes, definitely.
Did you guys get the Batman and Robin ones? I don't know how much you dip into the collectibles or the toys.
I did not pull the trigger for the Batman and Robin ones because I was holding out for Batman Forever.
And look at that. Dreams come true.
It was meant to be.
It was. Well, that's good. See, good things come to those who wait. So, excellent. Well, good. Yeah. I mean, it's exciting. And again, it's about time. And, we just did an episode not that long ago about Batman Forever toys that all came out in 1995, which was tons of fun. But even those were like, even the best of those are not a perfect representation of what's in the movie.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And it's about damn time. Now we're getting them. I love it. Same thing with the Batman and Robin ones.
Nice.
And so there you go. All right. Well, Kaylee, you got Christmas of 2025 sorted.
Yes.
Yeah,
and his birthday, because his birthday is in December also. So
see, perfect. These said summer of 2025, so we got a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's all right. It's cool and it's fun and I'm excited.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
All right. Well, we had to talk about that. But about a week and a half ago, we got another little Batman treat that dropped. And so Vice is doing this series of docuseries about big pop culture things. I didn't realize how many they were doing until I went and searched for the Batman one and saw that they're doing a Lord of the Rings one. They're doing a Marvel one. There was at least another one too.
And they have done a James Bond one in the past.
Okay.
So glad you said that.
So yeah, they had a bunch of them, and so they started their Batman one again about a week and a half ago, and I knew it happened, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But then a couple little things started popping up about it, and I was like, oh wow, it seems like there's some new content, and I've seen every Batman documentary, I've read all the Batman books, so I was like, so it wasn't like oh my god, I gotta watch this today, until I started seeing some things pop up, and I was like, oh, I guess this is worth my time, and so we did watch episode 1. And so the series is called Icons Unearthed Batman. And it's going to be a multi-episode series. Right now, episode 1 is on YouTube for everyone. I think that's on purpose because then they get you hooked in. The only problem is the rest of the episodes, because episode 2 is out as well, that's not like streaming anywhere. The only way I can figure out to watch it is like you have to sign into your cable account to watch it from their website. It's one of those deals, which I don't subscribe to cable, so I don't know how that's going to work. So I've still got to find another way to watch episodes 2 and on. But at least episode 1 they made readily available on YouTube. And so we watched it. We watched Icons Unearthed Batman, episode 1, narrated by Knox himself, Robert Wool. Love that. I wonder how many episodes there are. Do you think it might be 6? Do you think 6 is 6 good?
Yeah.
6 is good. Okay.
I was just about to make the same joke.
Can't help it.
Nope.
So we all watched it, and first I just want to get your overall impressions and thoughts about what we watched, and then there are some interesting things that I took some notes that I thought were worth calling out, and hopefully you guys did as well. So Kaylee, what did you think of Icons Unearthed?
I had a feeling you were going to call on me first.
I was trying to mix it up.
So I am gonna sound probably the greenest of all of us, but I actually really enjoyed it. I had no idea the whole background of how Michael Uslan played into the origins of Batman, that he bought the rights and all that, and it was just fascinating to me. And it was even like I wanted to go to my to one of our local comic shops and look into like the old school detective comics, just to see, price them out, see how much they were, what good conditions or not. And it was very, very enjoyable. I really liked it a lot.
Oh, great. I appreciate that it inspired you to go do further research.
Yeah,
I respect
absolutely.
that.
Maybe I was gonna say maybe some some future gifts for somebody else on this call right now. Just
Okay.
saying.
There you go. Yeah, put those
My
away.
goodness.
Put them in an Easter basket. Very cool. John, what about you? What'd you think?
I very much enjoyed it. I actually didn't even, I had no idea about it until she said we were home one day and she was like, I'm thinking of something we should watch. I'm like, oh, okay. And she puts this Icons Unearthed Batman. I was like, what is this? Because I had no idea about this because we don't have cable or anything. I know of Vice or Vice TV.
Right, like I've seen the logo of Vice TV, but again, I haven't had cable in forever, so I didn't really know what it was. And yeah, I'm hoping that they will make them available elsewhere. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we were watching this, and I was watching episode 1, and there were a number of things that, well, some of the things I already knew about just from either from my own knowledge or listening to you guys talk about it, but other things I was like, what? So I think overall for a first episode, it hooked me in.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
Very cool. And then Brendan, what about you?
I enjoyed it. I similar to you. I went in not expecting anything that we didn't already know. And I was pretty flawed early on because who knew that Michael Uslan didn't like the '66 Batman show? That just knocked the wind out of my sails. Like, my God.
Were you so sad that he was so sad that people were laughing at his hero?
Well, no, because I still would argue that for majority of people my age and older, it was not for that show, we probably wouldn't be Batman fans.
Yes, that's very true.
Let's be honest. But look, it's
Kaylee,
good.
because you were just learning about Michael Uslan, he always talks about how sad he was when he first saw the '60s show. So that's
I see. Okay.
Just put that out.
Fill me in. Thank you.
I weirdly something I got a bit of a kick out of was seeing a bunch of people from the great documentaries from the 2005 DVD releases, what they look like now. Because in my mind, they're eternally, what they looked like in that 2005. Age.
Yeah. Almost 20 years later.
Yeah. Look, it's really, really good. There's one thing that kind of bugs me, and it's the way these sort of documentaries are made these days, particularly the ones like making ofs and the movies that made us on Netflix is a fiend for it. But just the way, I kind of struggle to verbalize it, but the way they're edited, if that makes sense, like the way they do like quick cuts to like things that were previously said to kind of make it funny. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of gives me the shits after a while. It's like, okay, like it's funny, but I don't need that every couple of minutes for 45 minutes.
It takes away from it.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, okay, we get that the 60s show was Zam, bop and pow, but we don't need quick cuts of 4 people saying it over and over and over. And it's why, like as much as I do enjoy watching those, the movies that made us and stuff like that, it does, like, it irks me. It's just, I don't know why documentaries sort of tend to do that these days, but I wish they'd sort of stop.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I think you're right, and I do wonder, like, it didn't bother me with movies that made us because that approach was it was sort of breezy and fun loving, and so to me it really it fit the tone of what they were doing for that show, and I'm kind of bummed that it seems like they've stopped making those because I enjoyed those a lot. But it does feel like this is trying to emulate that, and so it comes off even a little less what's the right word, a little less sincere, because it's like it's like, oh, is that what we have to do now? We have to try and be silly about it. But I hear what you're saying. I really enjoyed it because I'm a Batman fan. And so, like you said, Brendan, of course, there's tons of stuff in there that hardcore Batman fans have already heard a lot of times on other documentaries and whatnot. And so there's a lot that's old news just being told in slightly different ways, but that's okay because the stories I've heard 100 times, I'll listen to 101 because I like stories about Batman and I like hearing about it. So that didn't bother me because I also expected that. But towards the second half, I felt like we got a surprising amount of new stuff once they really started getting into the making of Batman 89.
Yes.
Like that, I was very surprised. I was like, oh, I'm getting stories we've never heard before. And I was impressed with that because it's 35 years old this year. You would think that all the stories there are to tell have been told, but that doesn't seem to be the case because it depends on who you get to talk at what time. And the longer you go, the more comfortable people are with speaking freely. And there's a lot of that in this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I appreciate that. I love the candor that everybody is speaking of at the end. It's a shame that the lineup of people they got, they don't got Michael Keaton, they don't got Jack Nicholson, they got Sean Young and Robert Wuhl. And so, you kind of also have to just sort of understand that they're not, it's Vice TV. They're not getting the A-listers, but they got enough people where the stories are still interesting. And so, yeah, I really dug it. And I appreciated those like little tidbits and little new things where I was like, wow, we've never seen that before. That's crazy. So, like one thing that made the rounds after this thing aired is the Polaroids that Sean Young took on set. Like we'd never seen those before. And this was the first time I think they'd ever been shared. And that was fascinating of like, oh, yep, here's her with Jack Nicholson in his civvies. And here's him in his full Joker makeup. And here's her with Michael Keaton. And here's her with the producers. And like, when you hear her tell the stories about like going out to do Batman, for her, she was like, oh my God, I know this is a big deal. And I want to document every moment of it. And I get it, but it's like so interesting to then see like, yeah, here are the Polaroids and she has notes and she kept a journal and a notebook and
how much she gave everyone the shits.
And everyone's like, why is she taking notes? Yes. So yeah, like, and it's funny because I kind of see it from both sides. Like I kind of see it from her side of being like, I'm getting to be in the first big Batman movie. I want to remember everything. Yeah. And I appreciate that because I'd probably do the same. But for all these like really seasoned people like Nicholson and Keaton and everyone, they're like, what is she doing? Like, we got work to do here. And so, yeah, it's kind of a shame, but I get it,
But just, it wasn't even so much the journaling like that's fine. You do you, whatever. But yeah, the way she cracked the sads in one of the table reads and it's just,
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
I mean, there's there's the stories about Sean Young, obviously, and I don't dislike her in anything that I've seen her in. Like, I love her in Stripes and Ace Ventura and stuff like that, but she nuts.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's definitely worth your time, I guess, for anybody out there listening. If you're a Batman fan, you might have already watched it. If you haven't, again, episode 1's on YouTube, and it's interesting because, again, a lot of it is stuff we might know, but there's just enough new stuff peppered in that it's definitely worth checking out. I enjoyed the watch, but I also go back and watch those documentaries on that came out with the DVDs in 2005. I rewatch those almost as much as the movies because of how good they are. Yeah. So I like that one of the very first shots during the intro is of the bat hangers. That made me so happy. I was like, yeah, coming out strong. So I thought that was cool. So anyway, I mean, we already touched on like Sean Young journals and photos and stuff, but yeah, I want to kind of go around and say, like, I want you guys to just point out like anything that surprised you or you thought was extra interesting, anything like that. So Brendan, what jumped out to you that you're like, oh wow, like I didn't know that.
I mean, look, it was mainly because we know the story of getting Batman 89 made.
Sure.
And we know bits and pieces of, the making of it. But yeah, hearing the sort of, the behind closed doors stuff from people like Robert Wool and everything, about the cast smoking pot and the unnamed celebrity who his impression sounded a lot like Jack Nicholson. I don't know.
No, he was doing Christian Slater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But just taught him to, the way to get such substances back in the day. Yeah, it was those kinds of things, and hearing about the table reads, and I'm kind of blanking on specifics, but because it has been a couple of days since I've had the time to watch it. But yeah, it was that kind of stuff, that it was the hook for people like us who, like I said, I kind of know those documentaries verbatim. I would go through a period there. It's like, well, I don't have time to watch the 2-hour movie, but I do have 40 minutes free. I'll just chuck the documentary on.
Yeah.
Because it kind of scratches that itch. And I will say, watching it, because I didn't know going in that it was going to be multiple episodes. When I started watching it, I was like, oh, this is like the James Bond documentaries that I watched. It was even earlier this year. It was on a streaming service over here. And, they did the introduction where it sort of covers all, versions of Batman, although they didn't show Affleck in any of their little montage moments, which I thought.
Did they show Pattinson?
Yes.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, but they didn't show Affleck, which I thought was odd. But anyway, and I'm watching, I'm just like, man, this is really Batman 89 heavy. And then I'm sort of looking at the time and I'm like, this can't just be a one and done thing, because, I'm 3/4 of the way through. And
they're taking their sweet ass time.
Yeah, they still haven't rolled film on Batman 89 yet. And I'm like, no, okay, this is going to be a series. And look, I'm excited to watch the other ones. To be honest, I've kind of been scouring the 7 Seas the last couple of days to see if episode 2 was available. And as of Friday, I haven't been able to find it. But, I'm all in on the series. It's great. And I hope that they can continue giving us just that little bit of information that we haven't heard before from all of these films that they're going to cover, because that's what makes this really interesting for people like me and you guys.
Yeah, for sure. John, what about you? Was there anything that jumped out at you that you thought was particularly interesting?
I feel like it was definitely when they started the table reads.
Yeah.
And how Sean Young was feeling like, I think this was a quote from the episode where she said that she felt she was disappearing from the pages, and she just monotone. According to Robert Wool, when he said that she just went monotone, and he went to the bathroom and he spoke to one of the producers and he said, how'd it go? And then the other producer was like, oh, it went very well until this C word.
Till that Brendan.
Yeah. Yes, that Brendan pulled that.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that was fascinating. Well, first of all, it's kind of interesting timing that the last episode was me and Preston talking about the original script for Batman 89.
Yes.
And we talked about how much meatier the part was for Vicky in that script. That was one of the things we really hit on, is like, wow, like Bruce and Vicky's relationship was so much deeper, and Vicky had so much more to do as far as like being Bruce's conscience and trying to, and really challenging what he's doing as Batman. And there was so much more in the script for Vicky. And so it's very interesting to then hear this, where through rewrites and things, Vicky's part kept getting smaller and smaller, and Sean Young just called it out in the table read, which is amazing. I mean, credit to her, I guess. I mean, yes, I think she's a little, yeah, you said crazy. I hate to say it, but she's her own person, and she does her thing. But like, it takes balls to sit in that room of all those people, and as you're seeing your part just getting depleted, to just call it out. I was like, damn, girl, because she didn't have the clout to get away with that, which they also call out as like she was not on the level of Keaton and Nicholson as far as like star power and clout and everything. But yeah, that was such an interesting anecdote. And you're like, oh man. So even before the horse thing, it was like,
Yeah,
because of
people wanted her gone.
yeah, I mean, maybe not overtly. Maybe it wasn't like, hey, we got to get rid of Sean. But it's like, oh, like, you know, okay, we'll get through it. But oh my god, this is not quite going how we hoped. And it's almost like, yeah, the horse thing was
It's like someone, she got on the horse and someone gave it a slap on the ass to make it arc up.
Oh my god.
But like looking at it from the other way as well, if her part was getting majorly reduced based on the script you guys covered last week, so was Knox's.
Yeah,
like he doesn't have nearly as much in the final movie as the script you guys covered. So, you know, Robert Wall sort of had the sense to just sit there and keep it zipped.
That's true. But Robert Wool has always been very smart in that he knew he was just lucky to be there. He's always known that. And that's why, I mean, and he's cool as hell about it. Like, he was Knox. He wasn't Batman. He wasn't the Joker. He was just happy to be at the party. Whereas Vicky Vale is, you know, is a different thing. She was the third lead. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Good call, John. And I was like, yeah, again, we've never heard that story. All we had ever heard is she fell off the horse. We'd never heard about, you know, she didn't particularly get along with Keaton, and she made Nicholson uncomfortable because she was taking Polaroids, and you know, she bombed a table read in front of a bunch of muckety mucks, and like all that's new.
And she's not ashamed to tell it how it was either. Well, you know, from her point of view, she's not shying away from the things that other people were saying. She's kind of like, yeah, it's people hated me pretty much.
Well, and I respect that, like, she's saying, I don't think Michael liked me much, but she never says anything bad about him. Just that he just didn't seem to like me, right? And so I appreciate that, like, she's still respectful in her telling of her side, but we've never gotten this much detail to her side.
Wow.
Kaylee, what about you? Anything that surprised you?
So the one thing that really stuck out to me was, and actually one of the reasons why I wanted to look into like the old school like detective comics, the changes between the comics and then what ended up in the film. So mainly, like you were touching on the you know, with the horses, like that I was just trying to wrap my head around like what it would have been like if they would have incorporated that into 89, and you know, Joe Chill versus Jack Napier killing Thomas and Martha Wayne. Like it's just the changes between, you know, between what was on the page and then what ended up on screen.
Yeah. It's interesting, yeah, bringing up the Jack Napier killing the Waynes. Like, that's always been a point of contention in this movie, and I think rightfully so. Like, it's one of the things I like least about the movie, as much as I love the movie. But it was so interesting here, and again, we knew that was a Tim Burton choice. We knew that, but it sounded like that was like a Tim Burton choice from day one. And the only reason it took as long for it to happen as it did is because Sam Hamm kept fighting him on it, until eventually Tim got to do what he did because he was the director. But what I thought was so interesting is how Uslan said even he didn't like it. And so he went to Bob Kane and was like, hey, like, how do you feel about this? And Bob Kane said, it makes sense to me. I'm fine with it. And I'm very amused by that because also Bob Kane seems like the guy is like, man, they cut me a check to make this movie. They can do what they want, you know? I'm obviously just guessing, but that's kind of the guy he seems like he was, where he's like, they're making a movie out of Batman. My name's going to be on it. If they want to make the Joker kill the Waynes, I don't care, you know? But I like that Uslan was like, yeah, I asked Bob and Bob was okay. And it made me feel better about it. So I did think that was another really interesting anecdote, because obviously we knew about it eventually making its way into the movie, but I had never heard that Bob Kane gave a thumbs up on it.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure that if Bill Finger wasn't somehow involved, I wonder what his thoughts would have been about that.
Yeah, and the documentary, you know, they do give sort of a quickish background on the creation of Batman, and they definitely give Bill Finger his due. And so they, you know, they talk about Bob Kane and Bill Finger, but then they, you know, they do want to get to the media, I think, quicker than anything. Another thing that I thought was interesting, and I'd never heard this before, is that when Tim Burton started development on Batman, he had this idea where Batman and Joker are both orphans from the same orphanage.
Yes. Yes.
And Bruce gets adopted, Joker does not. And so that's part of why they're like Tim, it seems based on these anecdotes, based on what's actually in the movie, Tim seemed very much married to this idea of Batman and the Joker are almost the same. And he really wanted to make that dynamic work. And this felt like a much more literal version of that is, same orphanage, both orphans, one gets adopted, one doesn't. Here's how their lives change, which is funny because he kind of got to do that then in Batman Returns with Oswald and Bruce in a certain way.
Well, it gets done in the Batman.
Does it?
Because Riddler and Bruce are from the same orphanage. Like,
are they?
The Riddler was in a Wayne orphanage. I remember there was the whole backstory
but
to
Bruce
it.
wasn't. But Bruce wasn't an orphan.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Okay, I was like, wait, what? Okay, yeah,
it's very similar. Like
but there is sort of an idea, right?
Yeah.
And so he wanted them to both be orphans from the same orphanage, and then he wanted Christopher Walken as Bruce and John Malkovich as Joker,
which would have been interesting.
And I don't like the orphan story. I don't. Brendan, what do you think? The orphan story?
No.
Okay. Just checking. Kaylee?
No.
Okay. John?
No.
All right. We all agree. It's interesting, but it's like no, that's not the story of Batman. But Christopher Walken as Bruce? No. Also no. I'm gonna go ahead and say no. Agreed. Anyone else? Anyone like Christopher Walken as Batman?
Not.
Okay. Anyone?
No.
Going once, going twice. But what I'm getting at, John Malkovich as the Joker would have been pretty great.
I can see that. Absolutely.
You know, like that, I think is pretty damn good. Obviously, I'm happy with what we got, but a lot of those Joker options that they went through, and they didn't call them by name, they just went through footage. A lot of them were very promising. In fact, the only one they talk about out loud, like they show clips of like Tim Curry, Jeremy Irons, John Malkovich, Brad Dourif was in there. There were quite a few, but then what's that?
Bowie.
Oh, David Bowie. Yeah, David Bowie.
Yeah.
Robin Williams.
And then the only one they call by name is Robin Williams. And for me, the irony is everyone else, to me, I think would be a better Joker than Robin Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I love Robin Williams. I think Robin Williams was a genius. I just never saw him as the Joker, you know? But all those other ones, like Tim Curry could have been a great Joker. Brad Dourif could have been a great Joker. David Bowie, holy shit, would have been amazing. Like, so, again, Jack Nicholson knocked it out of the park, but man, they had an embarrassment of riches of options there. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting element that, again, I thought was pretty new. What else? Peters and Goober, which is, I think is so funny that those guys, like, they were all over the first movie and then they just kind of disappeared. Right. It seems like in subsequent episodes, we're going to hear more about Tim Burton and Peters locking horns, but it was also interesting that they liked the Batman TV show, so they wanted to get Chevy Chase or Bill Murray as Batman. And we had heard the Bill Murray thing.
I don't know. Bill Murray one before, and Eddie Murphy as Robin.
Yeah, we had heard that, but
yeah,
it's like, but you would think that at that point, as they were gearing up for production, they would have known what movie they were making.
isn't that what sold them? Like, it was usually the
Yeah,
pitch.
right?
Like,
Isn't that weird?
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was like, I thought that was interesting too. And then I didn't realize they produced The Witches of Eastwick. And so I didn't know that they were the ones who already knew Jack Nicholson, and they were the ones who were able to get him in the room.
Yeah, that surprised me too when Kaylee and I watched The Witches of Eastwick on this past Scarathon, and I saw that and I was like, oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, and that's a great movie, by the way. But yeah, the more you know. So I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I thought that was interesting. I love that they also talked about the crazy deal he got, where he got a
He's
cut
still
of
earning
everything.
money.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah. I know for many, many years, I don't know if it's still the case, but for many, many years, he had the Guinness World Record of the most money an actor made for a single role because of the deal he cut for Batman.
And it explains why he's sort of the one big star who came back for those 2005 documentaries.
Well, yeah, because
He's like, I'm going to get paid.
they've treated him well, yeah. So yeah, so I didn't realize that it was Goober and Peters who brought him in because of Witches of Eastwick, but I thought that was interesting.
I have a feeling I had heard that somewhere before because that wasn't new information to me.
Okay.
I just can't remember where, but I was aware that they did Witches of Eastwick and they kind of were the in to Nicholson.
Yeah, that makes sense. They also mentioned the Tom Mankiewicz script before Sam Hamm was brought in, and it's funny because on the last episode, I don't think we brought it up on the last episode, but maybe after we published the last episode, I got a message from a listener who was like, hey, you guys should dig up the Tom Mankiewicz script. And so now I am very curious as to what that script is like. So it's like add it to the to-do list or something if I can find it. I don't even know if it's readily available, but I just thought that was interesting too.
He was a great screenwriter.
Yeah.
Totally.
They went into all the controversy around Michael Keaton as Batman, which we all knew about, but it was still kind of fun to hear. I liked when Robert Wool goes, if there was social media, Michael Keaton would not have gotten to be Batman. Which I thought, but then I loved how everyone that they talked to was like, oh, it was genius. It was perfect. And none of us saw it except him, like, so all the credit. And I love that. I love that, everybody could agree on that.
Mm.
I appreciated that Billy D. Williams says that he does an audition.
That made me laugh.
It's good to be Billy D.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was really fun. And then I thought they went into the design of the Batmobile. And we got to meet Julian Caldo, who I'd never heard of before. And it was nice. Something like this is nice because you get to give credit to people who may not always get credit. Because we always call that Batmobile the Anton First Batmobile. Mm-hmm. But it seems like Julian is the one who drew it. So Anton First was the production designer. Julian was working under Anton First while he was designing the Batmobile. So Anton First does get some credit, but I'd never heard of Julian before. And it was so cool that we got to hear his account of designing that Batmobile. And I loved when he said, he goes, I started just by drawing sports cars, Lamborghinis and Corvettes, but putting bat fins on it. And Anton is the one who's like, no, you got to go further. You could go brutal, do something different. Like this is not just a street car. And so pushing him out and making him do something more fantastical. And then we get the amazing, now iconic Batmobile that we got.
I ain't saying anything, Andy.
I can't imagine why.
You don't just want a street car. You want something
that is unmistakably a Batmobile. Right?
Fancy that.
Right? Yeah. I want to see a Batmobile and go, holy shit, that's a Batmobile.
I do remember seeing those sketches before.
I think I have before too, but it's been a while. But the one where it has kind of the rocket in the middle and then the split cockpits on either side.
Mm-hmm.
which is super interesting. And I love that. But like, that's sort of just a rule in design, is like, go too far because it's much easier to pull you back than it is to
Yes.
push you further. And
Uh-huh.
I love that, as he went totally nuts with it and had a lot of great ideas when he went too far. And then by pulling it back 30% or whatever, he found the perfect Batmobile. And I think that's really neat.
Yeah. And I remember this because honestly I only watched the Batmobile feature from the Dark Knight Rises release a matter of a few weeks ago. I put it on because Henry loves Batwheels, and I was kind of sick of watching the same episodes over and over. So I was like, let's watch something else about the Batmobile, and I put that on for him, and he just loved seeing the cars drive around. The story about how they designed the Batmobile, but didn't design doors. They, and
Yeah.
right from that documentary, the one from 2012, like they'd gotten to the stage where like they had the full size cast ready to go. And like, how does he get in and out? And they're like, oh shit, I didn't think of that. And you think like it's something so obvious, but they were like, how do you not think of it? I guess, but when you've got that design, you just kind of go for it, and it's just so crazy.
Yeah, it's true. It's great, and I love that he even addressed that, and then he said it was the art director who came up with the idea of having that, the roof slide forward as opposed to, coming up on a hinge like a plane, or doing like a DeLorean thing. So, yeah, I love that. I thought that was so interesting.
And they still didn't account for the size of the costume.
Yep. Or how to get into it gracefully. Thank God for Carl Newman.
Exactly.
Because remember, that was one of the stories that
Yeah.
Carl told, is like, he's like, it was so awkward getting in that car. I had to find a way to make it look smooth. And he does. And it's great.
I've gotten into two of them wearing like comfortable, t-shirt and shorts and stuff. And there's no graceful way to do it.
Yeah. I can barely get in my car anymore. I'm in my 40s. I do the
Yep. We're in our 30s. We do the same thing.
Yeah. Just wait. And then it's definitely stuff we've seen before, but I was happy to see it again because it's been a while, is a lot of the Anton First Gotham City drawings that he did, a lot of the designs he did for the city. It was really cool to see those again, especially up against the actual sets and what they built at Pinewood Studios. So that was really neat, to the point where Catherine even like leaned in and was like, oh my God, that artwork's gorgeous. I'm like, yeah, Anton First won the Oscar, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
Yeah,
I believe you're right. Yeah.
So thought that was really cool too.
Now, was it Robert Wall telling a story about how he wasn't like, the security didn't recognize him and he wasn't allowed on set or something? Am I remembering that correctly?
That was not from this. That might have been from something else you watched.
Okay.
No, he talked about, he and Sean Young smoking pot.
Yes.
It seems like they were pals, which was nice. Because Vicky and Knox should be.
Mm-hmm.
And then he talks about how he got the part by inviting Tim Burton to a screening of Bull Durham. And so that helped him get the part, which is nice.
I thought it was very fascinating, with going back to Sean Young, the fact that she really felt like she was on a set full of macho men. And she even touched on that, saying that she always felt like she had that she was only allowed a certain point where she can only go so far as a woman. And she spoke about that. And you can even see it in the Polaroid with her and Keaton, that that Keaton is a very serious guy when he's on set. He's funny, but he's professional and everything. You could just tell that he was like not all for taking this picture whatsoever. And who knows what kind of talks were happening behind her back. I mean, not to sound cynical or what, but I think that was just the way that it was back in that time. And the fact that she didn't have, like you were saying, she didn't have as much power or pull as the others did. and her being the only woman, I mean, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. And it made me feel sorry for her in many ways, because I'm not as familiar with her filmography. I only know of a number of films of hers, including Ace Ventura, but this really made me feel bad for her and made me be like, man, what if she only had like a second woman with her, like, you know, like let's say like a Michelle Pfeiffer or someone like that probably could have, you know, stepped in and be like, hey, listen, you know, give her some slack, or what's going on here.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, that it was kind of heartbreaking when she said that, when she was like, I was the only woman there, you know, and it's easy for us to brush that off as men, to be like, oh, it's fine. No, it's not. When you're on the other side, it's really not. It's intimidating and it's tough. And, you know, I mean, Catherine's been in that position, and it does suck. And so you're like, yeah, I mean, you don't have a safe space, and that is a bummer to hear. And yeah, it's a real shame that it did not go well for her. But yeah,
You can only have such a thick skin.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So agreed. That was interesting. And I did appreciate where she was like, well, I don't think Michael Keaton liked me. And then one of the other guys was like, no, actually Michael's just a serious guy. Like, that's just him. Like, he's like, he's hilarious on screen, but when he's working, he's working. And I totally see that from Michael Keaton. Like, having watched his career and watched interviews and everything, that is absolutely, like, he can be funny when they yell action, but you can tell that he's just, he's down to business. So I'm not shocked to hear that. Yeah, he was just focused on the task at hand. I also appreciated, sorry to go back to when they talked about his casting, and they're like, yeah, you know, like, tall, dark, and handsome Bruce Wayne, that's not Michael Keaton. And then they showed like Michael Keaton from like Mr. Mom and some of his other comedies and stuff, and he looks just a little goofier. And it's like, yeah, you're right. And then in Batman, I'm like, in Batman, I think is the most handsome he's ever looked. Like, I don't know how they pulled that off. Like, because in Batman, you're like, oh yeah, that's a totally handsome Bruce Wayne. He's not tall, like he's never going to be tall, but he, for some reason, like he pulled it off. Like, there's like a little transformation there. And it was just something I noticed as they were talking about it. And then they show footage from Batman, and I'm like, yeah, but it worked. So, all right, well, anything else that anyone wants to bring up? I feel like I hit all the stuff that I found the most interesting.
I got nothing off the top of my head.
Great. Going once, going twice. Sold. All right. Well, Icons on Earth, it is out there on Vice TV. If you've got cable, if you don't have cable and figure out a way to watch the rest of it, let us know. I'm going to still do some digging as well, because I do want to watch the whole series, because it's Batman, and I'm so curious to hear what stories everyone tells as we go through the rest of the franchise, you know, as we go through the Schumacher films and the Nolan films, and then the Snyder films and into Pattinson. I'm very curious to hear who they've got and what stories they're going to tell. And so hopefully I can just keep finding those episodes, or they'll make them available on iTunes or something like that. I'd buy it. Of course I would. I've spent money on less important things. So anyway, it's out there on Vice TV. Check it out. But I thought it was fun, and it's a new Batman piece of media, and so it's certainly worth talking about. But another piece of Batman media that we watch pretty regularly these days is the animated series The Batman. And so it's time to review the next episode of The Batman. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble, guys, for doing this one without Jamie, but the show must go on. Not much
already covered it.
Yeah, so we're on season 2, episode 11 of The Batman, Grundy's Night. It was Directed by Sam Liu, written by Adam Beechin. It aired on August 27th of 2005. This is the Halloween episode. So yes, way back when, Jamie and I did review this for a Halloween episode. And I think at that time, it was new to both of us. At that time, it might have been the only episode of the Batman Jamie had ever seen. But I will say, I don't remember what we even said. No idea. So it'll be interesting to see if my review remains consistent. But it's Halloween night, and there's a legend of Solomon Grundy. Solomon Grundy is going to come back on like the darkest Halloween of all and bring ruin to the ancestors of the founders of Gotham City who wronged him and created the swamp. And sure enough, he does. Solomon Grundy pops up and he wrecks the homes of some of these folks. A pair of twins who are very witchy twins. And they're actually voiced by Witchy Poo. That's one of the things I remembered from when we reviewed it before. Yeah, Witchy Poo from HR Puff and Stuff. That's the voice of those old ladies. And then Solomon Grundy, then he wrecks somebody else's house, another one of the ancestors, and Batman is in hot pursuit. And he's like, you know what? I got enough trouble in Gotham with all these other super criminals. I don't know if I want to add zombies to the list. And Alfred's like, well, whether or not you want it, he's out there. And so Bruce has a run-in with Solomon Grundy. He loses. He regroups with Alfred, heads back out on Halloween night because he knows that midnight is coming, and at midnight, I think Solomon Grundy's power goes away. I don't know, like Cinderella, maybe. And so Batman intercepts him outside a wax museum. And so they have their big final confrontation outside the wax museum where we realize Solomon Grundy is not what he appears. Spoilers, guys. Sorry. It's actually Clayface. Clayface is posing as Solomon Grundy to rob these people. And as long as everybody believes it's Solomon Grundy, they're not going to come after him. But Batman figured it out. So it's actually Clayface. They have a battle inside the wax museum. Batman defeats them with an electrical batarang and covers him in wax from the wax museum. So Clayface has been captured. Solomon Grundy has been debunked for Halloween night. And Alfred goes, well, just because that wasn't Solomon Grundy doesn't mean there is no Solomon Grundy. And then it cuts to the swamp, and it implies that Solomon Grundy is still there, waiting to arise. So that is Grundy's night. Kaylee, what'd you think?
I actually really liked it. Truth be told, when I first found out that you guys were covering the series, I kind of like peeked in here and there when John was watching it with you guys. Wasn't a fan in the beginning, but I was like, let me just, just watch this particular episode just for this episode. And I actually proved myself wrong. I actually very much enjoyed it. Love a good Halloween anything. And I'm happy I gave it a second, chance, and I think I'll have to start, following along with you guys.
All right. Well, you don't have to, but I mean, if you've been listening, you hear that it's a better show than maybe its reputation suggests, and it is worth your time. So I'm glad that this episode, helped convince you a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
John, what did you think?
I was all for this episode, especially after the previous episode that was covered. It was great that it was Halloween. I love a great Halloween episode. I love the two sisters. They reminded me of a Witch Hazel type of character or characters if they were, them being twins. I liked seeing the trick-or-treaters. I love seeing Alfred dressed up as a Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I like the surprise. I did not see that coming at the end, it being that Solomon Grundy was actually Clayface. I thought that was a real nice touch. The Wax Museum was a pretty good, fight at the end there. There were some nitpicks that I have. If you wanted me to share them with you,
Yeah,
I
because
wrote it down.
I have a couple myself, and I'm curious if they match.
Yeah, okay. So Solomon, the way that they designed him is not my favorite. I always thought of Solomon as being yes, a tall guy, but maybe more full and more bulky type. I thought that was an interesting take on the character, but based on what I'm seeing of the Rogues Gallery from this series, it's one of those that oh, I can take or leave that design, or others that I'm I've grown. I had to grow a little into the Joker design. Now I'm oh, it's cool. The Solomon Grundy, I don't know if I'm all for it. There's also some lines that were written in there. I rolled my eyes after Grundy beat the hell out of Batman and then said, "Grundy wins." I'm okay.
No, that was like the announcer at the end of Mortal Kombat.
That's what I was thinking.
Grundy wins. Fatality.
Oh, but overall, I thought it was a solid episode.
All right, Brendan, what about you?
This is an episode that I always remember, the old women and Solomon Grundy, but honestly, I forgot the twist. I hadn't seen this episode in ages. And that, I'll be honest as well, I'm not a big Solomon Grundy fan. I don't his stories don't thrill me. So making the twist that Grundy was Clayface was really cool. And I thought putting Clayface in a wax museum as well is also pretty rad. Like if they ever were to do a live action Batman movie with a Clayface in it, I'd like to see them replicate something like that. Because it's real, it's creepy. It's like, in Halloween 2018, the room with all the mannequins and stuff, he's there, one of them's going to move. It's just that suspense of finding, where he is. So I thought that was really cool. I liked this episode more than I thought I would. Because again, I'm not a big Solomon Grundy fan, and that twist is it got me. I'm oh shit, I didn't realize that. And that was what won me over. I must say, Kaylee's review, or what she was saying, about her feelings towards this series, makes me happy, because that's why I was really pushing for this to be the one we did, because it is people watched maybe the first couple of episodes and which I totally get.
Yeah.
I know it's not the first couple of episodes or the first series. It's not that great, but I really wanted people to be no, you need to give it a shot, because it gets so damn good and it deserves more respect than what it gets. So that made me happy. And I do hope you kind of stick with it and keep watching along, because it's only going to get better, particularly when we get to season 3. Oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, I mean, even I had good memories of the show when I finally watched it. And then when we started doing season 1, I was like, oh, this is worse than I remember. And then right towards the end of season 1, they really start hitting their stride. And then it's been really good since then. And yeah, you just got to stick with it. So agreed.
So, I'm sorry. I have a question. So if I start watching it, would I have to go back to the beginning, or can I start watching it, say, from this next episode after Grundy's night?
I'd watch the end of season 1, but yeah, you don't really have to. Honestly, I'd watch the 2-part ending of season 1.
Okay.
Which is because that's the whole Joker Clayface 2-parter, which I think is worth checking out. But that's it. Then you can kind of just jump in wherever you want.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's funny. It feels like every Halloween I mean to rewatch this one, and then I don't, because I just have so much to watch at Halloween that it always manages to get pushed to the side.
And we've got the Batman versus Dracula, which probably scratches the itch as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I do love that it's an overtly Halloween episode. I actually, shockingly, I really like the Solomon Grundy design in this.
I meant to mention that too, actually. Sorry. I really dig the design. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I really like it. It is definitely different. Normally, he is much more of like a big gray Hulk. Like you said, John, he's got a lot more mass to him. He's huge. And
Right.
so, but he's supposed to be a zombie. So I appreciated that this one, they made him a little more zombie like. And he still looked like Solomon Grundy, but he was creepy. And I thought it worked for a Halloween episode. So it was a redesign that I actually was like, okay, cool. I'm down with that. I love the stun casting of Witchy Poo. I think that's awesome. But I was disappointed the first time, and I wanted Solomon Grundy to actually be Solomon Grundy. I didn't love that it was Clayface posing as him. Because yeah, I'm like, I mean, it's Halloween. I want the actual zombie. I don't want someone to just pretend to be a zombie. And so that is the one thing. And I do appreciate that they leave the door open at the end of like, oh, but he's still out there. But I don't know if he ever comes back. Do you know, Brendan? Like, does the real one ever show up? I don't think he does.
Not that I can recall.
Yeah, I don't think he does. So, and then my other complaint, but it's like a compliment and a complaint, is I agree with you, Brendan. I think setting the climax in a wax museum was brilliant, and I love it. But I don't think they take advantage of it. Like, you could have had Clayface changing from Dracula to the werewolf to, the creature from the Black Lagoon. Like, you could have had Clayface. And they were all there. We got to see all of them. Why, for a Halloween episode, aren't we seeing Clayface turn into all these different monsters for Halloween? And instead he turns into an alien, and then he's just Clayface. It's like, oh, like, you had the perfect place and the perfect idea. You just didn't go far enough with it. And that would have been awesome. So I think if they'd have truly taken advantage of Clayface turning into all these different things in the wax museum, it would have pushed this to a whole nother level. But that aside, it's a lot of fun. I really like it. I've really been enjoying season 2. There was one, I think it was the last one, was the one where we were like, oh, that was disappointing. The Butler did it. Other than that, season 2 has been pretty consistent. And this one was another really good one. I think my only frustration is like, it was really good, but oh, you were so close to being great,
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a good thing to add to the watch lists in October if you want Batman and Halloween.
I mean, it's only April. I'm surprised people haven't started doing their scare-a-thons for this year in that group. It seems to get earlier and earlier.
There might be one or two. We don't know. All right, two things before we wrap up. Number one, I was watching this. Harley was watching with me. And she's watching and she goes, "Happy Easter, Batman." And Brendan can attest. I sent him a video.
I've got the video, yeah.
It was so funny. I was like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
And the other thing, this is something I completely forgot about, but Jamie reminded me when we brought this up last time, is he's convinced that one of the shadows in the foreground in the wax museum is Superman.
I wasn't paying that much attention.
No,
I didn't notice that.
I forgot about it until he mentioned, he goes, I swear that's Superman's arm. And I'm like, and I remember way back when I was like, no, it's not. And then he reminded me. And so I watched it twice looking for this. And I think I know what he's saying. Like, but it's literally just the shadow of an arm in the foreground as Batman walks through the wax museum. There's no telling that that's Superman. I don't know
why. Is it like the arms akimbo, like hands on the hips or flying?
No, it's just a hand, but like the silhouette almost looks like whatever it is has a cape. And so I think that's why he thinks it's Superman. But like this, it is not an Easter egg. It is literally, it's like an ink blot that he's like, that's Superman. I'm like, I don't think that's Superman, man. So I'm sorry, Jamie, if you're listening, I still love you, but I watched it twice to try and see what you saw, and I just saw a hand.
It's like the old Will Ferrell gif. It's like, I love you, man, but you're crazy.
Yeah. but he reminded me when we realized this was up next. He goes, you watch for it. I was like, okay, I'll watch for it. And I did, and I even rewound it. But no, I don't see it. I'm sorry. All right. Final thoughts and letter grades for Grundy's Night. Kaylee?
I really, really enjoyed it. Again, it made me a fan. I'm definitely gonna have to, continue with the series. I mean, I'll go middle of the road. I'll go a solid B.
All right. Jon?
This definitely was a redemption. It's probably one of my favorites that I've seen thus far of the Batman. So, with the few of the nitpicks that I have, I'll give it a B+.
All right. And Brendan?
Yeah, for an episode that I didn't think I'd enjoy, like I said before, because I'm not really that big of a Grundy fan, it won me over for the reason that you didn't like. Yeah, I'm probably.
It wasn't Grundy?
Yeah, I'm going to go an A-.
All right. Again, I do think it's a really good one. It's Halloween. It's Solomon Grundy. I'm going to like it. I just wish, could have just been nudged just a little more, but I'm with Jon. I think a B+ is good, solid grade for this one.
Nice.
So Grundy's Night, an A-, 2 B+, and a B. Put it on, in the back of your mind until October and rewatch it then.
Yep.
So next one up is going to be Strange Minds. So whenever we get around to that one. But it's not time to say goodbye just yet because we have to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren.
What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger.
This is all, Master Wayne.
I got a lot. I can't promise we're going to get through them all today, but we'll get through a few, and that'll have to count. So here we go. This one comes from Aaron K. Aaron Cajanto, I assume. Yes, it is. And it says, Good day, legends. Congrats on 10 years. That guy. It was a true honor to be invited on the show way back when. I hope you understand the impact this podcast has on all your listeners. It's more than just a podcast. You offer an escape from our daily grind, a place where we can gather with our Bat family for a few hours and just forget our worries and stress. Although we may never meet in person, you are considered extended family. Now on to the question. If you could drop any Bat member into another film franchise or sequel, who and what film? Could it be Fast and Furious versus Bane? Maybe Jason didn't come back to life in Weekend at Bernie's, or Jason's... Or Weekend... So like Jason didn't come back to life and it's Weekend at Bernie's, but with Jason as the dead body? I think that's what he's going for. Or Batman enters the Crow's world and takes on Devil's Night. Obviously, Marvel is excluded. Anyway, sorry for the long email, but you deserve the praise. I'm not going to apologize. Stay beautiful, legends. Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We loved having you back when we talked to Black Adam, and definitely appreciate all your kind words. That means a lot. So, you're taking a Batman character and dropping them into another franchise. But no Marvel. So
Damn.
I know, right? So Brendan, is Batman and Bond gonna team up?
I'm going to have words to Aaron because we message each other all the time, and I really wish you'd give me a heads up for this question because it's like this one's going to take some thinking.
Yeah, I know.
Look, because of the kick I'm on at the moment, part of me wants to put Mr. Freeze into Ghostbusters because of the whole Frozen Empire thing.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, my mind instantly went to, and I think we've talked about it before, as like Batman versus Michael Myers.
Yeah. Same.
But I know that's kind of a given. We've done that before, but that's my first answer. My first instinct is Mr. Freeze, teaming up with Garaka in Ghostbusters. But I don't know. I'm sure when we finish recording, I'll be like, I've got one. But that's what I'm going with at the moment. That was my first instinct.
Okay. What if Mr. Freeze drops into the Santa Claus 3 and teams up with Jack Frost?
Or he could be in the Frozen Palace in Die Another Day.
See, there's so many options for Mr. Freeze, and that's just one. That's just one character. Kaylee, what do you think?
So being that Marvel is excluded, well, wait, does that mean Disney is excluded?
I don't think so. I think just Marvel.
Okay. I'll go Batgirl versus Elsa from Frozen.
Okay. I can dig it.
I'm all for that female.
Well, along those lines, how about Black Adam and Maui from Moana teaming up and going on a on a road trip together?
Skit so much. Nice.
John, what about you? Who would you throw into some other franchise?
This just came into my mind just now because the fact that he already mentioned the Crawl is like, okay, that's out. The second one I would do Nightwing in the world of the Warriors.
Oh, okay. I could see that. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
I've got another one, Andy.
Oh, go for it. Great.
Dick Grayson into The Greatest Showman.
Oh,
wow.
Love that. Love that.
Oh man, I'm sure I will come up with something even better in 2 hours time, but right now I I like the options we came up with. Just trying to think what's another one of my favorite franchises? Jurassic Park. Who could go into Jurassic Park? Why not Batman? Yeah. Why not Batman in Jurassic Park? Like what if it's Batman gets dropped onto Isla Nublar? Let's say it wasn't destroyed and he has to survive against the dinosaurs. I'd watch that.
Oh yeah.
All right, great. All right, next message here is from Tom Fallows. It says, hey, well done on 10 years. Here's to more. I really enjoyed the anniversary special episode, and I loved looking back at your favorite moments. I started listening back in 2015, leading up to BVS. Prior to that, the podcasts and YouTubers I followed were taking a negative viewpoint on BVS, and there was always a comparison to Marvel. Not much has changed. So hearing the positivity and excitement for the movie was refreshing. I'm thankful that I have a place where I can be positive about DC and movies. In this negative fan world, I think we need Holy BatCast as long as it may go on. I don't know how long that will be, another 10 years, another 5, but hopefully when that time comes, the random will be more positive and we won't need Holy BatCast anymore. But if the forces of negativity should rise to cast a shadow on the heart of DC fans, we will call you. Thanks for 10 years, guys, and thanks for bringing positivity and acceptance to everyone. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that and appreciate the sweet message. And I'm glad that is what you get out of Holy BatCast, because that's kind of what I hope you get out of it. All right, next message here is from Alec. It says, hey guys, it's been a minute. Last time I wrote in, it was on the mental health episode. If you remember, on the same episode, someone wrote in requesting that you do an episode on Batman Unburied on Spotify. I wanted to second that thought. It's a fun audio adventure that I totally recommend. I also wanted to express a concern regarding the recent announcement of a Teen Titans movie. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea of a Teen Titans movie, but I just worry about trying to introduce so many characters in a movie. I worry it might feel rushed and underdeveloped trying to fit so much into one movie. I mean, we've seen how that could end in the past. Any thoughts? Anyway, sorry for the long email. I promise I did my best to keep it short, but as you can see, I wasn't very successful, Alec. Thanks, Alec, and I still haven't listened to Batman Unburied. Guys, did you?
No.
I think I might have listened to the first episode. It's odd. Like, I can listen to podcasts all day, every day, while I'm working. I still take everything in. I still do my job well and everything. I just, for some reason, audiobooks and podcasts that are telling a story. For some reason, I just can't manage. I can't get into it. I don't know why that is, but yeah, I'm not an audiobook guy either, but I mean, I'm glad that they exist and that people enjoy them. I just, for some reason, just can't get into them.
I'm exactly the same way.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same way. I will listen to nerds like us talk about movies and theme parks and God knows what else all day, every day. But when it's like a narrative, yeah, I check out. It's so crazy because I tried listening to the audio adventures and it was very well done. I really appreciated what they were doing, but yeah, for some reason, the format doesn't work for me like that.
Put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So anyway, sorry about that. But as far as Teen Titans, his concern that it might be trying to introduce too many characters in one movie. How do you feel about that, Kaylee?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think going back to the Titans TV series on Max, we ended up falling off of it just because, there were just so many characters that it just felt like it was just all over the place, and it would just, I think it would just be too hard to do everything so quick.
Okay. John, what do you think?
I have to agree about the same thing with trying to make a movie and fitting all these characters. I mean, that is going to be one long film unless they split it into like a two-parter. I just can't fathom that happening with Teen Titans.
All right. Brendan?
Look, it's not something I'd thought of or was concerned about, but I can understand the concern. Unless it is one of those things where it's a bit of a stripped down version of the team. I don't know. I don't know who you would sacrifice. So you've only got maybe 3 or 4 in there, and then you kind of build out in sequels and things like that. You could tease one towards the end of the movie, or your story could be about rescuing a Superboy or so I don't know. I'm just sort of spitballing with no previous thought about it, but that could be a way to do it. Is maybe it just be like that cut down team, and then they expand in hopeful sequels and things like that. But yeah, I can understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, I understand the concern too. Because it's certainly a task to be able to introduce and develop the whole team from the start. But I don't think it's impossible. I don't share the concern, even if I understand the concern, because there are plenty of movies that have been able to do that successfully. If we're talking about just James Gunn, look at the Guardians films. None of those characters had any previous films. They all had to be introduced and developed in just that first Guardians film, and it worked. On the DC side, look at the Suicide Squad, or either Suicide Squad movie. Even if you don't like the first one, I don't think anyone complained that whatever. I didn't understand the characters. There were too many.
They were the best part.
Yeah, most people agreed that the characters were the best part. And even in the Suicide Squad, same thing, where you had to introduce a lot of new characters for the first time. And the Suicide Squad was even worse because he picked such obscure characters that you really knew nothing about. And he was able to do it. So it can be done, right? Like, it's certainly possible. But yes, it's a hurdle that they would have to overcome of like, how do we efficiently introduce the Titans so it doesn't feel overstuffed? And I hope that, as they're writing and developing, that's something that they keep in mind.
Andy, I think also too, you brought up a good point. It can be done, I think, with the correct creative team.
Sure. Yeah.
If it's not a good creative team behind it and trying to fit everyone into one film, it might be, with James Gunn, I think it was a different story, but I think with, if they don't have the right creative team behind it and trying to do all of that, I don't think it would be.
Yeah. It's tricky, and I don't think Gunn will direct, but he at least will be the one reading the script and approving it or giving notes. So looking at his track record, especially with these big ensemble superhero movies, that helps give us a little bit more faith,
Yeah.
All right. This next one's also about Teen Titans. This is from Stephen Marshall. It says, "Hey, I hope you're doing well. Jamie, he's not here, but hopefully he's listening. He says, Jamie, I'm also rewatching Cheers. I was like, what a coincidence when you mentioned it on a recent episode. I had recently only just watched Frasier, but I also wanted to say that you need to finish Titans. I personally felt that season 4 was the best of the 4 seasons. I enjoyed them all, but seasons 1 to 3 all had lulls and mostly failed to stick the landings. But season 4 was pretty much spot on from the start to finish with a very satisfying ending to the series. But in the announcement of the Teen Titans movie, I think they should have Robin be Tim, but also have Nightwing. And then Stargirl and Cyborg as the elders who lead and teach the youngsters. As much as I'd love Superboy, I think they would have to hold off until we get more Superman movies unless they introduce him like Young Justice. Now that I've said that, I want it. But the lineup for me would definitely be Dick Grayson, Stargirl, Beast Boy, Raven, and I think anyone else you can take your pick. Anyway, not much else. Just wanted to say, hey, kind regards, Steven. Thanks, Steven. So Titan Season 4 gets Steven's stamp of approval. And I think I said the same. I think that Steven, you and I agree on the Titans series. I mostly liked it. It certainly had pluses and minuses, but I think it did have a satisfying ending. So I'm with you on that.
Hey, guess what?
What?
I still haven't watched it either.
Oh, good.
It's been on my to-do list. I just haven't gotten to it. But I really liked the first 3 seasons, hey?
Well, it's still available for now until WB deletes it for whatever reason. So that's okay.
It's Netflix for me over here, so I don't. Wow. Yeah, that might be a different thing.
Well, you got Steven and me saying season 4 pretty good.
And we started watching it. Like, I'm sure I watched like the first 2 or 3 episodes, but for some reason we just fell off and haven't come back to it yet. But we're going to.
Us too.
Yeah.
Us too.
Same.
I think it was one that was like split. It was a split season.
Yeah, that's what it was. I wasn't in any rush to get back to it because I knew there was a big gap coming, and then I just never got back to it. Yeah, that's why. There
you have it. Anyway, so as far as the Teen Titans movie, Steven didn't actually ask for our lineups, but that seemed to be where he was going because he was kind of sharing his lineup. So, Brendan, what do you think?
You have to go Robin and or Nightwing.
Yeah.
I feel that you need to have Raven, Starfire, Beast Boy. Cyborg, I don't know. Like, I know he's in the cartoons, like, you know, the Teen Titans Go, but he's not he never shows up in Young Justice, does he?
Only briefly and as like a cameo.
Yeah.
And I think that's because in the comics he had been promoted to Justice League.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you necessarily need Cyborg in there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised given that Cyborg was in, you know, Zack Snyder's universe and the actor was a bit, you know, they may want to stay away from Cyborg. So that
and we've had two. We've had 2 in the past few years.
Yeah, because you had in Doom Patrol as well.
You also had Doom Patrol too.
Yeah, I think, and that's what I'm talking about, like sort of the cut down version. Like you don't necessarily need to use all the, you know, the ones that sort of are associated with it. So I'd probably lose Cyborg. Not that I've got anything against that character for any Cyborg fans out there. Just thinking about streamlining it for the sake of the movie, but I kind of feel that you need a Robin, like I said, and or Nightwing, depending on which way you want to go. Raven, Starfire, and Beast Boy. For a first movie, I'd be happy with that.
With just the 4 quartet, like Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I was gonna go core 4, but
core 4 that works too. What about you, Kaylee? Who would you have in your Teen Titans movie?
So I would go Dick as Nightwing, Tim as Robin, Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy. I would take out Stargirl only because I don't know her. well enough.
Mm-hmm.
I would swap out Stargirl for Wonder Girl.
Yeah.
I would swap her out for Wonder Girl, and I could take or leave Superboy. Honestly, it's just me.
Yeah.
But those would be the main ones.
All right, John.
Oh my. Yeah, I would definitely take Dick as Nightwing. Give me Tim as Robin, Starfire, Beast Boy, Raven. Cyborg, I could take or leave, honestly. If just because I remember him in Titans, the series, and I really enjoyed him, but I kind of want that I want that defiant character like a Jason Todd in there, or even dare I say, Damian Wayne.
Yeah, it's funny that none of us have brought him up until just now, because I also feel like that is also a big consideration, is are they going to use this to either introduce or extend Damian Wayne because of Brave and the Bold?
Right.
Yeah. I don't want them to, but it would make sense that they would because of Brave and the Bold.
Right.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that we're all kind of close. I would definitely do Nightwing, Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, Robin, and yes, I would go with Tim Drake Robin. I kind of agree now that Cyborg is much more Justice League than he is Titans. I might leave him out. I'm also okay with including him because for the kids who grew up on Teen Titans Go, they would expect to see him. So I get that. But yeah, if it were up to me, I think I would leave Cyborg for Justice League, and I would essentially make it Young Justice. I'd put Calder, Aqualad, and Wonder Girl to round it out.
Nice.
All right. Next message here is from Brian B. It says, "Hey guys, I wanted to wish you a happy 10 years. I was made aware of your show 8 years ago when Andy, you went on friend of the show Sean Gerber's Batman show and reviewed BVS with him. While I thought you were crazy,
Wasn't that a fun episode?
Oh my god. No, it wasn't. I didn't enjoy it. I love Sean. I don't like disagreeing with Sean. Anyway, it says, while I thought you were crazy, and I still do for defending that film, I was really impressed with your knowledge of the character and your general positivity in an increasingly hostile world. I checked out your podcast and the other slew of Real Fans pods, and they became a regular and delightful listen since then. On a personal level, when I started listening, I was a second serving of biscuits and gravy shy of 300 pounds. And after listening to you fellas during my nightly runs, I am now 200 pounds and still listening during my runs, so I appreciate it being so enjoyable. My question, after fluffing you guys enough, Andy, I agree with your take that the Batman is probably being rewritten to be a potential ending if Gunn wants to move forward with the Brave and the Bold ASAP. Do you think we might have a Justice League scenario where the movie ends on a potential cliffhanger or unresolved situation? I know they're getting a head start to probably avoid this, but I just feel like one more film isn't enough to wrap everything up, and I worry it could hastily end. Thoughts? Usually I send a fun follow-up question, but after my lengthy intro, I'll save it for another time. Congrats on 10 years of great pods, and always thanks for the hard work. P.S. Jamie is a lifelong Giants fan. I love that the Raiders hired Antonio Pierce and hope he does well for you guys. I'm just
look, absolutely. I second that.
Agreed. I just am so happy for that. Okay, so Brian, thank you. I take it as like an amazing compliment that you heard me on a podcast and disagreed with me, but still wanted to check out my podcast. Like, I can't think of a nicer compliment, because usually if you listen to a podcast and you disagree with someone, you're like, I don't want to ever hear that guy again. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Congrats on your weight loss. Keep on going. That's hard work and respect. Good for you. And then the question about, the delay for the Batman Part 2, working on the script, rewriting it, could that be the end? Who knows what else might be going on behind the scenes? It's a very interesting question. Brendan, do you have any thoughts on this? I think I discussed that with Jamie, so I'm very curious to hear your take.
I'm kind of in line with you, where I think there's more at play than just delaying it a year. I mean, yeah, I know that he's also done the Penguin TV series, but James Gunn also did Peacemaker and is now in charge of a whole universe and wrote a Superman script that's now filming.
And is also going to direct part of Peacemaker season 2.
Yeah. Oh, look, do I think this new universe will have an impact on the future of the Batman? I kind of do. Because these were decisions that were all made before Gunn and Co. came along. I mean, look, I always thought it was kind of odd that we had the Batman come out and, for all intents and purposes, Affleck was still in play. Like, I mean, I know he'd said that he'd retired and stuff, but he always came back when they asked him to. So, and for a company that didn't want, two versions of the same character for the longest time, it just seemed a little bit strange. But would I be upset if the second one was the last one? No. If they tell, if they don't leave it on a cliffhanger, if they're actually working towards telling a final story. Look, I know Andy and I joke about it and things like that. Like, I don't hate the Batman. Is it my preferred version? No. Is the length of it, does it really sort of kill rewatchability for me? Yes. But I still, and did I really not dislike the aesthetic? No. But yeah, I don't hate it. I just don't love it as much as other people do. But so I'm not going to sit here and go, I hope it's the end and piss that off and it was shit and I didn't like it. I just don't want people to misunderstand me. Yeah, look, if the Batman 2 is fantastic and it's it wins me over a little bit more than the first one did and they have more stories to tell, will I want to see them? Absolutely. I just don't. I'm really curious to see how things play out, and at the moment, either way wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. John, any thoughts on this?
Yeah. When I saw the delay of the Batman, all I was thinking was, okay, they're probably doing this in probably a way of being like, let's see how Joker does at the end of this year, and this may give us an idea if we are going to continue with the Batman part 2. If that's going to be the last one, or who knows? I mean, there's so much that could be at play. It could be them trying to get the right people for the right characters, rewrites. I mean, who really knows? But I'm just playing devil's advocate and thinking they're going to wait and see how Joker does coming up this year. And then they're going to be like, all right, now we know what we're going to do with Pattinson.
Okay. Kaylee, any thoughts on this?
I can definitely see both Brandon and John's points as far as, waiting to see what happens at the end of this year. Is the Batman my favorite interpretation? No. Would I be okay with this second film if it happens being the last one? At this point, I'm kind of in the middle. Just as much as I would want to see more DC content, it's hard. It's hard to say, it's like everyone else was saying, like it could be a lot of different things. We could be having a very different conversation at the end of the year. We could be having a very different conversation in the beginning of next year. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you know, it's tough. It's hard to that's a hard one to answer.
Well, I think that you are are making a very valid point, intentionally or otherwise, in that the DC landscape is so uncertain right now
Yeah.
Mhm.
that it's really hard to read the tea leaves.
Yes.
Because there's so much in flux. There's so much that's changing, right? Like there's stuff that was already in motion, like Joker and the Batman Part 2, while they're also getting the house in order for a new universe, and they're figuring it out.
Yeah.
And again, that's why when this came up, I think it was 2 episodes ago, I was like, I do not believe they're going to cancel the Batman Part 2. I don't. Do I think they're buying themselves more time so they know exactly what to do with the Batman Part 2? Probably. Because they've got to see just where things land and give everyone time to start figuring out how are we going to keep Matt Reeves' universe going, and then also launching The Brave and the Bold and making sure everybody's happy and that these things are complementary and not at odds. And so it's a moving target, and it's going to be interesting to see where it all goes. I will say this, like, if for the sake of argument, they decide that the Batman Part 2 is going to be the end of the Reevesverse, if that's the case. Don't know if that's going to be the case, because frankly, I think it will all depend on how the Batman Part 2 does. But if they decide that, you would still have the Batman, the Penguin, the 8-hour Max series, and then the Batman Part 2, which would already serve as a trilogy of sorts for the people who love that universe. If the Batman Part 2 comes out, makes $1 billion, doesn't matter what anybody says, they're going to make the Batman Part 3.
Right.
So that's but to what your concern is, Brian, of like, well, what if they leave, you know, it on a cliffhanger and then we never get any resolution? I'm less worried about that because of the way the Batman Part 1 ended. Certainly they left dangling threads, but I wouldn't call anything a cliffhanger. And if that movie was one and done, it tells a story, beginning, middle, and end. And I don't think, you know, I mean, yes, you'd have been like, oh, I wonder what would have happened with that Joker, but it's not a cliffhanger. And I think that the Batman Part 2 would probably be the same, as certainly they would leave threads you could pick up on next time, but hopefully there is enough resolution that it could serve as an ending as well.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. All right, this is a nice quick one from Jim Scroggs. Hi, Jim. It says, what is the most unique Batman-related item you have? I have a copy of Batman 127 from 1959, and it features Thor on the cover. Thanks, guys. Jim, I'm going to have to Google that. I've never heard of that. Why is Thor on a Batman cover? That's interesting. So, a unique Batman-related item. Like we've talked about collectibles, mementos, toys, but I guess what he wants is unique, something very random. Brendan?
I'm looking around my office.
I'm about to do the same. I'm like, what would I consider truly unique?
Can I say my Michael Keaton standee, like the life-size Michael Keaton standee?
You could say whatever you want. It's your life.
It's not something that I imagine a lot of people have. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that for the moment.
Can I say a signed picture of Richard Citrone? Does that count? John, do you have anything that's super unique in your Batman collection?
I'm trying to think, because I'm like thinking, what do I have here? I was gifted by one of my good friends a signed photo from Will Friedle, who was the voice of Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
And he signed it to me, saying, to John, and saying, I am Batman, which he said in that two-parter.
Awesome.
premiere of the series.
Very cool. Kaylee, I don't know if you have your own Batman collection or if you just share one with John.
I kind of share / I have helped him build
Or
said collection.
enable it. Yeah.
Yes,
As a
yes.
good wife should.
Yes, exactly. So actually I have a couple. So I have at one point I had gifted him one of the larger Funkos of Batman
Okay.
from oh god, how big was that?
I don't know. It's so ginormous. I didn't take it out of the box.
it was one of the larger ones that you would see, say, like in the window display of like the comic shop.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that one, and then also we have a friend of ours who is actually a Disney fine artist, but he has dabbled in some DC work as well. He actually did 2 drawings of Batman, one of Keaton's Batman, and then one of, I don't know what that interpretation was. It was like a darker interpretation. Andy, I can send it. I can send it to you. I'm not sure exactly which one it was from, but they were actually like hand drawn, and they're actually framed on our wall right now.
Ooh, excellent. Very cool. Yeah, send me a picture. I'm curious.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go with my Batarang collection, thanks to my wonderful wife Catherine.
That's a good one.
That's amazing.
Because it's all inclusive. It's like so many Batarangs, and they're all just right here on my wall now. And yeah, I think that was 2 birthdays ago she got me those, and they're so cool. And it was because of an off the cuff comment on one of these mailbag questions where I was like, "Yeah, it'd be cool to have like all the different versions of a Batarang." And then lo and behold, my birthday comes around, and there they are. So those are pretty unique, you know. The other one is something that has recently come into my possession, and I shared it, and Brendan already has claimed it after I pass away. And that it's a cast of the bat symbol from the Kilmer Panther suit.
Yep.
Ah.
And it's sitting right here, and I don't know, it kind of serves as more of like a paperweight now, because like can't really do anything with it, and it's heavy, but it's super cool, and yeah, it's beautiful. So that's super unique too, and
Nice.
Yeah, Brendan's just hoping I come down with something.
I was gonna say, Brendan, you calling dibs?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you ever come to Australia and fall off a cliff or something, yeah, I'm innocent.
I'm gonna add a little addendum to my will. It's like, if I die under suspicious circumstances while on a trip to Australia, Brendan gets nothing. All right, guys. Well, I have other emails waiting, but guess what? We're at time. So these emails are just going to have to wait till next time. So if you're out there and you're listening, you're like, wait, what about mine? It's sitting here and it's waiting, and we'll try to get to it next time. But I love the emails. I love them. I love that I got so many of them. But the problem is, yeah, it's just time. So hang tight, everybody, and tune in next time for more of the Wayne Manor Mailbox. If you want to just add to that, to the Wayne Manor Mailbox, you can send those to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. And thank you to everybody who did that. We appreciate it. But as we're going to wrap up this episode, folks, Kaylee and John, it was a pleasure. Thanks for joining our party. Kaylee, I don't know if there's anywhere that anything you need to plug, or anywhere on social media you want people to follow you, or what?
Oh, thanks. Thanks, guys, for having us. But I am actually on Instagram and Letterboxd. It's just my name, Kaylee Mercado, Mercado.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Kaylee, and thanks for volunteering you and your husband to join us tonight.
Of course. Thank you.
And John, thanks you for showing up too.
Yes.
Good to have you.
Yeah, of course. It was a lot of fun. It was a dream of mine to actually get to be a part of like talking with you and talking with Brandon. So it was great, and would love to talk with you guys, in the future again, if that'd be cool. If you have me.
Awesome, for sure. Anywhere we can find you online?
You can mostly find me on the Real Fans Facebook page. I'll be on there, John Cato, for Facebook, and I'm also on Letterbox because I jumped on the Letterbox wagon once you guys jumped on it. So
It's all Hunter and Preston's fault.
agreed.
but it is a low stress little kind of social media, but yeah, it's good. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Brendan, what about you? What are you up to these days? Thanks for joining.
That's all right. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being my Vicky Vale in the passenger seat.
That's all right.
Thanks for being my Sean Young. Thanks for smoking weed with me in the hotel room.
Yeah,
we talk shit about Jack Nicholson. Yeah.
Look, as always, you can sort of just find me on Facebook in the Real Fans groups. Don't really use X that much anymore. Yeah, just on Facebook in Real Fans is where you're going to likely find me the most. And I do reviews, I blog my movies and review them on Letterboxd as well. So
Letterboxd. All right, cool. Well, I already told you guys where to find me, but thank you as always for joining us. Thank you for downloading or streaming the show. Please do subscribe or follow the show where you get your podcast. That would be awesome. Something else that you can do to support us that is easy and free, just rate and review us. If you like the show, a nice rating is very much appreciated. We would love that. Again, find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, X, YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address again is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsors over at manscaped.com. Do some shopping and use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. But that will do it for this episode. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of Brendan, Kaylee, and John, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. And happy 85th birthday, Batman. We love you. Don't ever change. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. How about the Joker in It?
Yeah.
That
would be John's favorite movie because I heard he likes clowns.
Yeah, that was the other movie that scarred me with Tim Curry. Imagine if Tim Curry was the Joker in '89.
Yeah, see?